Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto, back with another update on the markets. Today we did a live stream about 1.5 hours ago on the inflation rate data, which I'll briefly talk about in this video as well. But we're going to do a full update on the markets. I'll try to talk about the fundamentals a little bit here at the start as well. Then we'll get to Bitcoin. We'll talk a little bit about XRP. I think Ethereum, we've already spoken about, not too much. You cannot talk too much about Ethereum. But the video this morning still accurately explains what's going on. So I think it's unnecessary to talk about that too much right now. But there are some altcoins related to Ethereum that I did want to speak about at the end of the video. So we'll still talk about that a little bit then. But for now, let's start off with the fundamentals. Fundamentals are crucial, all right? Now, if we take a broad look at the fundamentals, they're pretty good. You can see the S&P 500 has opened a little bit higher right now after the news that the US and China have signed some sort of a trade deal. Now, personally, I'm still a little bit hesitant or cautious on this trade deal because we haven't really heard much unless it happens in the last 15 minutes from the Chinese side of this deal. So we'll have to wait for that a little bit. And I also don't know the details of the deal. So that is something, I need to see that. Before I can tell you if the deal is bullish or bearish. I mean, as it stands right now and what we know right now, I would say the deal is bullish, right? Because it seems like the US and China have, at least progressed very, very much and very far in creating a full trade deal, which is obviously bullish, right? So that's good news. But then you also have to question, was it already priced in? Because if you take a look at the volatility index, mainly the volatility index, but also the stability of gold, you'd already say that, all right, well, the markets were already expecting this. So I'm kind of in between waiting for some more confirmation from the Chinese side and saying that this is priced in, that, this is obviously good news. But I'm not certain if it's good enough to make the markets move up. Same thing with the economic calendar, with the CPI data and inflation rate data. Look, this is good news. We got inflation rate data that's lower than expected. So also, in combination with the expectations from the tariffs this summer, this is good news, right? We can actually, maybe get 2 rate cuts in 2025, maybe even more if everything cools down much longer. But yeah, I mean, technically, we had a lot of momentum already Monday and Tuesday. It doesn't happen very often that, we get continuation for 3 days in a row. So therefore, at this point of time, and the volume at this moment, the US market has opened for about 30 minutes. Volume is also not that high. So I'm definitely bullish on the markets. Certainly, like on Bitcoin, but also on altcoins. I made a video this morning on altcoins specifically, which says that, I think we're good. I think you should have a long bias. And I think a breakout for Bitcoin is also possible and perhaps even most likely. But short term, I'm leaning towards expecting stability. Right, and stability also means the possibility of a break, not a breakdown, but a pullback into 107.7 and 107,000 round. So I would say it's more likely we will stay in this balance for now. And then eventually from the balance, as long as the fundamentals stay the same as what they are right now, then later I think we can break out and rally into 114, 115. But yeah, it's partially a feeling, which I never like to do, but it's partially a feeling and experience that I don't think we're going to break out, even though it is certainly a possibility. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. When I look at XRP actually looks better, right? I mean, XRP is maybe a little bit quiet today as well, but it looks good to rally into 2.35. It's a strong resistance level, so expecting some resistance there is not strange. But then after that, I do expect continuation into 2.42, 2.44. Looks great. Gained some momentum over the course of today as well in the XRP USDC pair, which is normally some sort of a sign of demand from the US, which is a great thing. And that's also one of the catalysts that can really push up XRP. So that's great news, but it's quite stable for now as well. So it probably will remain stable around 2.3. And then eventually, I think we're going to get that move up to 2.42 and 2.44. And then when we're talking about altcoins, like I said, this morning I made a full video on altcoins in which I said, others, which is a great index of altcoins, has broken out above 250. So just structure-wise, it's likely, I'd say, that, maybe we're going to get a pullback, but that we are going higher. So in general on altcoins, I'm positive and I'm bullish. But like I said, I mean, the same thing as what I expect for Bitcoin. Does that mean on a day like today that you should FOMO in and buy in markets? Personally, that's not what I'm doing. But yeah, there are still coins rallying today. When we're taking a look at the volume right here, there's a couple of coins that I think are interesting. I still think Ethereum Beta is very interesting, right? So then we're talking about Athena, we're talking about Uniswap, we're talking about Aave, maybe Pepe, but Pepe I'm a little bit less convinced about. I still think Solana is quite interesting with ETF news, of course, yesterday. And then what more do we have? Yeah, Jasmine actually still interesting, had a structure shift on the 4-hour time frame. I still think ICP, if we get a deeper pullback, is interesting. Eigenlayer, that's also Ethereum Beta, so we don't need to spend too much time on that. But no, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities. But I do think today is a day of patience instead of a day of buying. Even though the general markets are still even though I generally have a long bias. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Altcoins, by the way, also very correlated, which is also a sign of stability, balance. But no, those are my thoughts on the markets for now, on Bitcoin, XRP, altcoins, and the fundamentals. Hopefully it helps, but for now that's it. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on my next videos, and bye.